So the first thing in the chapter we need to talk about is the lexical decision task. Researchers present a series of letter strings to participants. And these letter strings are sometimes words and sometimes they're pseudo words. Like it might say dompter, which is a possible word if we had selected some meaning for it, but it's not a word. So given these strings of words, research participants are supposed to say really quickly, as fast as possible, whether it's a real word or whether it's not. That's the lexical decision task. But researchers can present different kinds of scenarios and different stimuli that would cause people to recognize faster or slower whether a word is actually a word or not. So if you skip ahead to page 240 and 241 in this methods box here, it describes how this might be done. For instance, for 1 second, a participant would see a series of pound signs. For 50 milliseconds, which is just a 20th of a second, the word nurse would be flashed. A participant would not be able to recognize that the word nurse was seen because it would be far too fast for them to even read it or process it on a conscious level. Then the pound signs would return. They wouldn't even notice that anything had changed. And then the target word doctor would be presented. And they would be asked, is this a word? If nurse was presented, they would be much faster to realize that doctor's a word. Because, well, I won't go into why right now, but that is the task. That's the lexical decision task. The speed with which they make their response is the critical dependent variable in this task. It's always going to be fast. It's always going to be like a second or less. But the response times, when averaged over a bunch of different trials, can be statistically analyzed down to milliseconds to determine if they're faster under some conditions than under other conditions. And that's the reason why speed ends up being so such a critical undertone to all the material in this chapter, why it's all about making those decisions faster and slower. And with that, I'm going to proceed to the topics of interest to the chapter and the implications that this lexical decision task can have for the study of language.